Dog won't let go, man doesn't notice car behind. She knew what she had to do, she got up off the floor and jumped onto her owner's lap. He was busy driving and tried to get her off, but it was no use. She wouldn't leave so easily. He didn't understand why she was doing this. But little did he know that it wasn't because she wanted attention. Derek fell in love with animals at a young age. But of all animals, dogs had a special place in his heart. Especially those in need. Derek already owned 2 dogs that he had saved from shelters. But after meeting Daisy, he knew he needed to save her as well. Derek couldn't believe how in love he was with Daisy. She used to be an ex-guide dog but started to develop blindness of her own. This means she had to retire and find a new home. Derek knew she needed a special environment and he was happy to give her a loving home where she could be safe. He bonded with Daisy immediately and soon it was something out of a fairy tale. They were the best of pals, but soon Daisy would do something that Derek would never have expected. It happened on a regular Saturday evening while Derek and Daisy headed a friend who lived a few miles away. They had both gone on this road often, but it would be different today. Daisy hopped into Derek's car on the floor, where he had a soft pillow for her. He strapped himself in and started their hour-long journey. But only 10 minutes had elapsed before Daisy was suddenly hanging onto him for no apparent reason. Derek used the command he had trained into Daisy, but she was disobeying him. She refused to let go of him and continued to hang onto him. Derek decided to slow his car down while reassuring Daisy. She didn't normally do this, it was definitely out of character. What was going on? Derek spoke softly to his canine while rubbing her head with his free hand. Then he noticed a lot of cars driving in the opposite lane. He then noticed that there were barely any cars ahead of him or behind him. He thought it was a very strange occurrence. But quickly forgot about it as he concentrated on driving. Derek decided to continue his journey, not seeing that cars were turning around to go the opposite way of his journey. Daisy started to get more and more unsettled. Derek just kept trying to calm her down to no avail. It wasn't affection that she wanted, it was something else. The car that was following behind him had disappeared. There were no turn-offs, so he must have turned around. What was going on? The further he drove, the more anxious Daisy became. She began to whine as she clung to him on his lap. Now Derek became worried something was wrong with Daisy. He pulled over, but what he'd find would leave him shaking with shock. When Derek pulled over and reached for the door to hop out of the car, Daisy let out a stream of yelps. Derek had never seen her act so strangely. He comforted her before continuing to open his door. He had to take a better look at her to see if she was hurt. But the reason she was acting so frantic had nothing to do with any injury. And that's exactly what Derek was about to find out. As soon as Derek opened the car door, he was struck by how quiet it was. Apart from the steady engine noise of the cars that passed, everything else seemed still. Too still. That's when he looked around and saw the scariest sight he had ever seen in his whole life. His heart pounded as he jumped back inside his car and put it in reverse. He spun the car around as soon as there was a space to. What happened? Derek was driving straight into the eye of 3 giant tornadoes that were moving at an incredible speed toward his direction. The tornadoes pounded the earth, spewed debris and objects high into the air as they tore across the land with a vengeance. If Derek hadn't stopped when he did, it would have been far, far too close for comfort. Then everything clicked. As he drove away, pressing the accelerator hard, he looked at Daisy. She was calm now, sitting in the passenger seat like she usually did. Was that what she was trying to tell him all along? Was that why she was so clingy? Because she sensed a danger he was bringing himself into? Then he remembered something else. Because of Daisy's past work as a guide dog, she was trained to signal to her owner when they were walking into danger by hugging her body close to them. But because she had developed partial blindness and deafness, Derek thought her ability to sense these things were long gone. Obviously, he was wrong. But how? Dogs can see and hear just like we can, but the sense they rely on way more is their sense of smell. This sense is the best that they have. So even though Daisy couldn't rely on her sight to know what was going on, she would use vibrations and her great sense of smell to figure out what was around her. This meant that she would become a guide dog that would one day save Derek. Thank you for watching this fantastic story. Please tap one of the 2 videos on your screen for another amazing Wonder Stories.